Texans consider him among the greatest heroes of our state independence movement, and the Bayou City is named in his honor. Our port reporter, Mr. Instrumentalist, tells us about this Texas legend.
We've all read some basic facts about the great Sam Houston, but this time you're in for a real treat. With the help of my friends from the East Texas Historical Society, I'll bring you closer to the man that is Sam Houston.
In the early history of Texas, there is no person who is more important to the people of the area and indeed becomes a national figure. It's Sam Houston.
Sam Houston had been in Tennessee, had been a very successful politician in Tennessee until he had some personal issues led to a drinking problem. But he was a very close friend of Andrew Jackson. And so Sam Houston, in order to rebuild his reputation after he goes off and lives with the Indians, comes back and he talks to Jackson. Jackson supposedly said, you know, look, Sam, if you want to get back into the game, if you want to get back into politics, what you need to do is why don't you go to this new state, this new area, Texas.
If you were in Texas from the time of the independence up through the Civil War, you were either for Sam Houston or you were against him. That was the politics of the state. Yes, there were political parties, of course, but all of Texas politics centered around how you felt about Sam Houston. He was either the greatest leader, a visionary, a true statesman, or he was the worst lying dog scoundrel that anyone had ever run across.
Maybe the most tragic story of Houston's life is his latter life that he had when he'd been the senator, when secession talk began to spread throughout the South, when the group of Southern secessionists known as the Fire Eaters began to talk openly of seceding from the United States. Houston was in the Senate, and during the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, long before the Civil War started, Houston warned people in speeches, this will tear the country apart. On high noon on a day, Houston was supposed to come to a podium in Austin and take the oath of allegiance to the Confederacy. 3 times the secretary of the convention called Houston to the podium. 3 times he didn't come. So he refused to take the oath of allegiance. The governor's chair was then immediately vacated. He left Austin a disgraced man. In fact, he'll die in 1863 in Huntsville, and he was really forgotten. And those that remembered him vilified Houston for years. It's not until, the turn of the century to some extent before Houston starts making this comeback as a hero of Texas.
I would like to thank my good friends at the East Texas Historical Society, and you can look forward to us collaborating in the future as we bring you the remarkable history that is Texas. Back to you, Cindy.
Thank you, Mr. Instrumentalist. To see more of our Port Reporter, go to 713news.com.